everybody, and welcome to our second webinar within the Unlocking Growth with Data series. Today, we're going to talk about unlocking retail growth with strategy and promotions. Before we start, let's do a quick round of intros. My name's Mandy. I'm Director of Engagement Solutions Product here at DRB, and I get to work specifically on things like data, analytics, warehousing, and all that fun stuff, along with our overall engagement solutions platform.
And my name is Jocelyn. I'm the lead data analyst with Suds Creative within DRB. My role focuses on using wash performance data to understand the car wash industry and advise on how car washes can use their data to improve operations and revenue.
All right, awesome. Let's get into it. So let's start with the importance of retail before we dive into some of the strategy and promotion talk. So let's start by defining kind of our core topic, right? When we talk about retail revenue in car wash, what do we actually mean? Retail customers are those that come in for a single wash without committing to a plan. Now, some of those people do end up converting, some never will, and honestly, some shouldn't, and we know who we're talking about there. But the key is that retail customers pay actually more per wash than members. And retail is your top of funnel engine for your membership growth. As you can see here, this is kind of a good example of like healthy retail and what that should look like for your business and your wash. Really, we look at between 20 and 30% of your traffic base to really represent a healthy mix. So the question is, it's not, rather, how do we eliminate retail? It's how do we maximize it strategically, right? Let's start with two numbers that might change how you think about retail. The average retail customer spends about $13.84 per wash. The average member pays about $30.34 per month and washes about 2.8 times, which works out to roughly $10 a visit. So as you can see, per visit, retail customers actually end up spending more than your members do at that specific visit count level. So we should look at this as membership giving you predictability. It's a great thing to continue to emphasize. We want conversions. We want folks to stick with us long term, right? But retail is going to be the place that you're going to get that higher margin, and that's really your opportunity to continue to drive that. Too often in our industry, when we push too hard on membership growth, retail quietly means it becomes kind of secondary, right? But neglecting retail isn't neutral, it's actually costly to you. And the reason for that is, like we said, retail is your highest sort of per visit revenue, pipeline for future members, and kind of also your early indicator when competition enters your market. We'll talk more about that later. Today, like we said, we're going to talk to you about how to turn everyday traffic data into a true retail strategy for your business.
Yeah, so like Mandy said, we have a chart here showing the traffic breakdown. This is actually the industry level average that we pulled for 2025, showing that in the industry, membership traffic took up 69% of total traffic, and retail traffic is still maintaining a really healthy portion of that circle at 28%. Like Mandy said, we do want to stay between 20 and 30% of total traffic to maximize the effects that retail can have for us. We've found if retail drops below 20%, membership growth does stagnate, slowing over time, because retail does feed that membership funnel. Additionally, retail contributes to a significant portion of our total revenue due to that higher per visit pricing. So retail dropping below 20% consistently really does hurt from a revenue perspective.
Yep. So the goal is, like we talked about, it's going to be to optimize retail and to really understand who are these customers, what motivates them, and how do we make them more consistent, even if that means that they never end up joining a plan.
All right. So when we're working with retail data, we do find that the greatest predictor of retail traffic, statistically, is total traffic. That might sound a little silly, but that's where our demand comes from. Retail declines are often blamed partially or almost entirely on shifts to membership. We know some of that reduction in retail is due to a shift towards membership. However, your true demand economically for retail washes is coming from those cars on the road. You want location awareness, you need to tunnel throughput. So, traffic preservation and growth is the single most important retail protection strategy, even if you are focused on a membership heavy future for your business. It's still vital. Using this information, we can find predictable patterns that point to opportunity windows for customer engagement. So, we learn more about our customers' motivations. We understand how to leverage that through a pricing funnel, through timing of offers, and through all of the offerings that we have available. So we're going to talk about three main categories of how to leverage this behavioral data, starting with seasonality and weekly patterns. Car wash is a unique industry for quite a few reasons. One of them being that we are massively impacted by fluctuations in seasons and weather. And a second reason being car wash is considered an errand to run. Not only an errand, but oftentimes it's considered a luxury errand. So we have a few ways of looking at data, both large and small, at large and small scales, to understand when and why customers will be looking to car wash and how we can capitalize on that. Then we'll talk about retail loyalty beyond membership. Retail customers, they aren't all one-time buyers. In most data sets, we can find a segment, about 25 to 30% of our retail customers that are actually behaving similar to members. They have multiple visits per month, high lifetime value, low plan, but low plan enrollment. Like they're not signing up, but they're being consistent. This is showing loyalty even at that retail level. So that group, that segment, it's measurable. Their patterns and distributions are trackable. However, these loyal, consistent retail washers, they're often one of the first groups to jump over to new competitors when you have new people enter your market. So if we can really lock in the loyalty of that group, it can increase our stability on the retail side, especially when facing incoming competition. We're also able to build retail loyalty by truly connecting with our customer base. You want to be able to understand who your customers are, how they're motivated, how you can build the connections that are going to keep them coming back to you. For example, markets with high bilingual populations respond well to targeted Spanish language campaigns. Spanish being the most popular. If you have another language, maybe lean into that. Certain demographic areas correlate very strongly with premium wash adoption, not just high revenue areas, but areas that put a very key importance on vehicle as a status symbol. So lean into those, understand the demographics, and pay attention to how people are using your car wash in response to their lives. And then we'll end talking about holistic promotional strategies. So if overall traffic is our strongest predictor of retail wash demand, then we need to focus on driving traffic to the site. And to drive traffic to the site in general, we need to leverage all of our offerings holistically. So we want all of our efforts to reaching out and strengthening our brand. We want them to work together to boost the demand that customers have for our car wash. Brand awareness is the single most powerful tool we have for getting customers onto our site. Because once a potential customer is aware of our brand, then we have a chance to reach them through existing products, existing promotions, and business outreach activities. We want to focus on the value to the customer and how we can fit into their lives.
Yeah, great points. So, guys, in order to get to the answer of how do we get more retail, we need to understand when is demand the strongest, when is it weakest, what happens before or after, for example, rain, when are customers more likely to upgrade or visit in the first place, right? So, retail revenue is behavioral revenue, and behavior can be influenced.
Absolutely. So let's jump in and let's talk about weather. A single rainstorm or a single snowstorm has huge effects on your businesses. Everything seems to stop during a storm, but then comes back in force after that storm clears. Zero rain at all can cause customers to start building routine-based patterns. And then every year in pretty much every climate zone we've analyzed, there is a pollen season that's going to drive customers in due to that lovely pollen effect. However, due to the predictability in climate, seasonality is predictable. We just need to look for those commonalities.
Right. Obviously, you don't control the weather, but you do control how you respond to it, even as a business. So, for example, what if instead of reacting to slow weeks, you proactively anchored your wash into your customer's routine? After work, maybe before a weekend event, maybe post rain cleanup. That's the kind of strategy we're talking about.
Absolutely. So to take this into a data place, we want to look at the big picture. So when talking about climate, that's very big picture. We want to do an industry level analysis of traffic patterns so that we can start predicting in the future how those traffic patterns are going to look. Seasonal patterns and climate patterns, we could look at it by state, but we know that a storm doesn't stop at a state line. So we elect to look at commonalities between climate zones. For reference, we use the IECC climate zones to define our regions. Generally, these are defined by broad temperature patterns and comparative precipitation. We find areas east of the country tend to be more humid than those areas west of the country. And then on the far west coast, we do see a slightly different climate called a marine climate. So it's got some unique patterns there. Our northern bands tend to have colder temperatures. As we move south, it's going to keep getting warmer. And so we analyze our data and we do our research within these climate regions to give us insight into how car wash responds to each unique climate zone. So if we zoom into one of these climate zones, I went ahead and picked the 5A cool humid zone because why not? And we want to look at how this can affect car washing. We define this region as being seasonal, moist, and variable. So that's saying there's a clearly defined seasonal weather pattern. This is one of the areas where we actually do get 4 seasons. Looking at a more humid climate, so you're going to see, more precipitation, but there is variability in that precipitation. And then other weather conditions have that variability as well. We have researched the temperature and precipitation averages for this climate zone. The temperatures show that fluctuation from summer to winter that we would expect in an area that shows 4 seasons. And then precipitation is moderate most of the seasons, but it is higher in the spring and summer. We also find that this climate zone does experience the highest tree pollen in the spring, with other pollens peaking throughout the summer and the fall. Taking this information from the climate as a whole, we then compare it with our lovely graph of monthly traffic distributions within the climate region.
Interesting. So help us understand that graph there on the bottom right corner. So what is the axis on the y side there? What are those percentages supposed to mean?
Yeah, so those percentages are the percentage of a year's traffic that occur in each month. So, for example, in 2024 in January, we see just over 9% of the year's total traffic occurred in that month. And so if we were to add up the percentages for all 12 of those months, they will add up to 100%. This allows us to focus on the relative volumes and identify months where the traffic is stronger and the months where the traffic is weaker. So in this 5A climate region, we see consistent traffic in January and February. It drops in March consistently, then rebounds in April and May for a nice strong spring. The summer does maintain middling percentages, but does start to drop off towards that end of the summer, with one last big push in October before we hit November and December, which are the slowest months of the year. Generally, that's going to be a holiday and weather effect.
Got it. That's super helpful. I think as a wash operator, I definitely want to know, outside of my general org and like where I'm located and distributed throughout the US, I'd want to know kind of where my sites fit in. So, do you guys have information about all of the regions?
Almost all of them. There's one region that we're still gathering the traffic data for. We do have to adhere to very strict rules as far as how we can aggregate this information. So one of the very small marine regions over in the very far west, we are still gathering information for. But all of the rest of them, I do have this completed information here. And we use it as much as possible, honestly.
That's really cool. Yeah, tell us more about how you use it and how you advise customers on their strategy using this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, our SUDS marketing team, we use this information every single year to inform our annual marketing strategies for the clients that we have the privilege of working with. So, for example, I've put together a very a very light annual marketing strategy sample that is similar to what we put together for our clients, just missing some of that detail that we can put in for the clients that we have those standing relationships with. So this is very broad. It could apply to a lot of different people. So there are a few different focus areas that we talk about when we're building a marketing strategy. Top of that list, honestly, is our membership growth. I know we're talking about retail today, but membership doesn't go away. We just want to make sure that we are capitalizing on the ideal times for our membership promotions. So when we're looking at this, the spring, so that April or May section that has that high traffic, and then that bump in October of high traffic, those are ideal times for us to run membership promotions because the traffic is already high. We can focus on our membership growth. Then we move on to our other focuses. We want to focus on brand awareness. We've already said brand awareness is so powerful in getting traffic into our site. So we want to make sure we're promoting our business and building brand awareness year round. And so we have evergreen ads running the whole year. We want to make sure that people are aware of our car wash at any point during the year. Now, we can promote brand awareness through other methods. So, for example, we may do some customer education in January, talking about how important it is to wash that road salt off of your vehicle during a snowy period where roads are being treated. That customer education can make you a partner with your clients. Moving into the spring, if we want to maybe look at boosting traffic maybe a little bit in the March time period, maybe you look at sponsoring the high school baseball team. That's just an example, but getting some of that outreach really gets your name out there. It supports the community, but it also comes back to you because it does really have a positive effect on your image and your connection to the community. So we fit that one to the spring a little bit before during that lull in March. And then towards the end of the year, we know November and December, they're yearly slow in a lot of regions. This is a great time to get a secret shopper in. So getting a secret shopper in can confirm that the experience on site that your customers are receiving is meeting or exceeding the expectations that you have and the expectations that your customers have. So great opportunity to make sure that those operations are in place. And then the last layer is our driving traffic. So this is where we get some specific focused promotions that are going to drive traffic as their primary focus. So an example in quarter one, a share with a friend promotion. So some form of a promotion where if a client comes in, they get a coupon that they can give to a friend to come in and get their car washed. So you're getting more people, you're connecting through word of mouth to get them to come in. February is where I put it because Valentine's Day, that's a great time to talk about people connecting to people. In quarter three, we had kind of a gap. We haven't put any sort of membership or brand awareness focus in. This is a great time to run a buy one, get one offer. August is generally back to school, so that's a great theme to center your promotion around, and it does drive that traffic in. And maybe you're going to get some new people that can roll in and build that back to school habit. And then we like to end the year with our holiday gift card sales. We know traffic's low, but gift card sales are a great way to finish out strong, and it sets you up for higher traffic the following year.
Nice.
So,
Really cool. Yeah, I love this because you're taking basically broad climate patterns here and what's going on at that time of the year and then turning it into strategic actions basically to support all parts of the business. Now, because retail traffic is so demand based, traffic based, maximizing the effects of marketing efforts here is going to make a huge difference.
Absolutely. So, going from this large scale look at just a whole climate view, we're going to take a look now at data from a single site. So, very small scale. We want to use this data from a single site to help us understand and grow our connection to our retail customers at their level. So, beyond the effects of weather, car wash is built around convenience. Car wash is an errand to be run. If car wash is convenient, customers are more likely to come in and get it done. So, if we can take information about what day and time your customers are washing at any particular site, we can begin to understand the routines of the customers in that area. So, things like commuter traffic, event traffic, weekend morning, family running errand traffic, these are all life rhythms that can correlate into retail demand. And when you understand those rhythms, then you can anchor any sort of promotions or activities to that routine instead of just guessing.
Yep. So instead of asking things like, why are weekday mornings slow, for example, we should ask ourselves things like, what do weekday mornings mean in my customer's life? Are they busy? Are they price sensitive for some reason? Responding to convenience maybe more than discount? Retail growth really starts with understanding customer psychology, which is interesting, right? Backed by your traffic data.
Absolutely. So let's look at a little bit of traffic data. Now, quick note, this data is intended to be relational only, but it is based on patterns that I see across multiple clients that I do this exact analysis with. So we use a heat map. This is what I call it, a heat map. And we use it to dig into the patterns within traffic flow at individual sites. So what this shows is the total number of washes that happened each day of the week at each hour during the last 12 months. So in this example of our simulated data, we can see that there were 110 washes during the 7 o'clock hour on Mondays during the last 12 months. It might feel a little silly to zoom into it that far, but let's check out some of these patterns and see what understandings it can help us see. For example, early mornings on weekdays. Generally, those are going to be your commuter traffic times, but this site has very slow mornings. So that would indicate maybe we aren't capturing the commuter crowd. So how can we connect to those early morning drivers? Generally, when we think about commuters, we know they value speed, they value convenience, they have places to be. So early bird specials may get them in the door. Retail loyalty tracking or saved payment methods can actually speed up and reward consistent visits, and that's going to be appealing to a commuter crowd. Looking at some other patterns here, Friday and Saturday are the busiest days of the week consistently, and that stands to be true in a lot of places. So from your perspective, you need to make sure that you are prepared. Make sure you're staffed. You want to be able to provide the best customer experience and have staff on hand to maximize any additional sales during those time periods. If any customer does come in for the first time on one of those busy days, you want to make sure that they don't get lost in the rush. You want to make sure they have a top quality experience because those first impressions mean so much when a new customer comes in. On Sundays, we see a late start. So after our very busy Friday and Saturday, we have a very slow start on Sundays, which may indicate a strong church crowd in your population. If you have those demographics within your population, use your volunteer efforts, your community outreach to connect to that group. We also know that most church groups, most church families, they support family values. So how can our business highlight our own family values to create that connection? And then the last one, and probably the strongest pattern I see here is the consistently strong weekday afternoons. So every weekday afternoon, 3 to 4 o'clock, we're seeing boosts in traffic. This, to me, screams that you might be near a school. You might be getting after school pickup by parents. And if that is true, you need to maximize on any after school errand running. You could connect with the school. You could do a sponsorship. I believe I mentioned that already. Other ways you could connect are looking at local businesses that are also frequented at this time and try building a connection, a business to business connection that could be mutually beneficial. So, increasing the visibility with this after school group could be extremely valuable. So, just from this really brief review of these patterns, we're able to give ourselves a variety of potential actions to take. Combine this information with your other existing knowledge of your area and your business, and it's likely that you'll know exactly what you want your next steps to be.
Cool. So
All
let's talk
right.
a little bit about loyalty beyond memberships and what pay as you go means and what that concept really is within the context of retail. So, when a new wash opens up nearby, we tend to see that our customers experience a traffic drop in retail by about 30% on average. But within your retail base is a segment that we call proxy members. And so that's something you can focus on as this kind of pattern occurs if competition's nearby. These customers that we call proxy members, right? They tend to be customers that visit frequently. They have high, what we call lifetime value because they're coming back over and over again. And remember that high price point we talked about on average for retail customers, right? So they are providing you that high ticket value every time they come to visit. They kind of behave like members because they're coming back often, but they never commit to a monthly plan. This could be a psychological thing. It could just be because they don't want that commitment. They don't want another subscription yet right in their wallet, I guess you could say. But they do tend to represent about 25 to 30% of your retail volume, which is a good amount. So the risk is this is the segment that you need to watch closely because, like we said, if there's competition around, retail is most likely to sort of defect or go that direction, try out kind of the new competition in town when they do enter. So this isn't just marketing to you, right? We want to think about this as protecting our revenue, protecting those retail members that do show some sort of loyalty because they keep coming back to us. So if we can identify and nurture this group, we will reduce volatility and sort of increase stickiness with that group. So you can go to the next one here. We're going to talk about this concept of pay go or pay as you go within Pantheon. This works well for customers who want flexibility, maybe aren't ready for commitment, right? But still value some of that recognition because they do choose to come back to you over and over again. Here's an interesting data point I'm going to share with you. This came out of some recent research done in the payment space. So the data point is this. While most consumers are neutral towards expanded payment options, nearly half say that they're more likely to choose a car wash that supports saved payment information. That's about 44%, closely followed by digital wallets, indicating that modern payment flexibility enhances appeal even if it's not yet a primary driver. So, what we're talking about here is reducing one layer of friction for our consumers who do show you that they have some loyalty to you, even if they're not members, right? So, PayGo in Pantheon is a capability that allows for this saved payment method, and it works within our e commerce platform seamlessly. You can move to the next slide. It allows our customers basically to store customer preference, credit card, vehicle information, and get sort of fast tracked through the member lane and basically increase throughput and essentially pay as they go so that every time they come through, they get charged, but they don't have to buy a new retail wash at the kiosk or attended lane every visit. So it's not replacing the membership, obviously, right? But it is building a bridge. It's essentially a way for you as a brand to say, I do see your loyalty, even if you're not ready for a subscription. Retail customers, they don't lack loyalty. They just maybe lack commitment readiness sometimes, especially those proxy members that we talked about. But PayGo is one way to sort of create that belonging, show them we're extending out that sort of reduced friction, right? Easy to make it come through and revisit us without forcing commitment.
Absolutely. This is actually also fantastic for those retail members who maybe the reason they haven't joined as a member is because they're not ready to wash 2 to 3 times a month. Maybe they want to wash once a month, but they still want it to be convenient and they want to still feel like they're part of your customer base. So this is a great way to reach those customers as well.
Yep, that's right.
All right. So we're going to end this with our last section talking about holistic promotional strategies. So, promotions that perform the best share three traits: there's a clear value, there's a simplicity in how to redeem, and it has very strong timing. So, for example, holiday gift card sales consistently boost site traffic both during the sale and in the month following. Typically, we aim them at December because, of course, that's timing, that's gift giving, and it's really hitting exactly what our customers need at the right time. Buy one, get one offers do help boost consistent wash usage for our retail customers. So wash usage as a boost. I mean, it's a simple redemption. You come back in with your coupon and you get that reduction. And we know from observation of memberships that usage does prevent churn. So on the retail side, usage is going to keep them coming back and build that habit for you. So all promotions can be valuable for starting a customer's relationship with your business. But again, that's just a start. So we want to make sure that after a promotion, the customer is willing to make that decision to return to your wash. So are they returning to just get another discount, or are they returning because you've clearly demonstrated the value that you can provide?
Right. So the question for you becomes, are your promotions just traffic spikes and is that the correlation there, or are they behavior shifts? Are you building brand memory or discount dependency, right? Retail promotions should anchor routine, reinforce your value, but also create repeat motivation for your customers to come back and visit you.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk first about how do your existing offers support your retail. So starting with your evergreen advertising, your evergreen, it builds your brand awareness. People aren't going to come into your wash if they don't know it exists, but if they do know it exists, you've done the first step and they can come into your wash to experience what you are offering. That's your way of reaching new customers at its very base. So always work on your evergreen promotions, your evergreen advertising, build that brand awareness. That's going to drive traffic, which will drive your retail. Membership promotions do drive retail because membership offers do get your customers on site. If you have a group of members that maybe they're not ready for that membership promotion, even if they come to the site, they're still experiencing, they're interacting, they're aware of you. So a membership promotion, while focused on membership, can still have a positive effect on the overall traffic and therefore the retail traffic. And then your gift cards or wash books, whatever of those prepaid offerings that you may have available for your business, they do help address the need of a large variety of customers. They provide a potential trial situation for customers who are on the fence, and it essentially gets them through the door to interacting with your business, which can immediately drive traffic, but potentially keep them coming back if they like what they see. And then from a marketing perspective, there are a lot of different approaches you can take from a promotion standpoint or a community interaction standpoint. And these are all different ideas of how you can use marketing to drive retail traffic. So we've talked about holiday gift cards. Get a gift card out there, it's going to get a person coming into your wash. A share with a friend promotion, it capitalizes on word of mouth and it gains you contact information for future marketing. A buy one, get one is one wash today, another wash later. It's going to drive traffic back at a different time, and we value that. Gamification, so any sort of a raffle, an app game, anything like that, customers will come if they think they might win. If there's an opportunity, if it's fun, they're going to show up. Client education, first of all, it spreads the value of car wash, so more customers understand why it's so valuable to them, but it also presents yourself as a business partner who's supporting your customers, and so it creates more of a relationship with them. Speaking of partnerships, business-to-business partnerships can be very mutually beneficial. It gets your name out there. It gets it related. So if you have a partnership, say, with an auto care company, and you're dropping their name, they're dropping your name, you're both getting your name out and you're reaching a wider base of customers. Community outreach, so volunteer efforts, working with schools, working with doing donations, whatever that may be, it builds goodwill, it boosts local exposure. So there's nothing detrimental about reaching out and connecting within your community. And then finally, make it a show. I'm sure we've heard far and wide about the success of haunted tunnels. It turns that errand into novelty entertainment. Putting on a light show, a music show, whatever you can do to make a car wash an exciting entertainment activity instead of just the errand that it started out as, can help drive traffic into your site.
Awesome. Let's zoom out here for a minute. So, retail strategies, we know promotions are very valuable there, but it's not just about promotions, it's also about experience. Now, with Pantheon, we are able to design agile, flexible customer experiences that respond to our consumer behavior in real time. So, here's what that looks like in action: customer recognition at entry, segment based kiosk screens, smart upsells based on behavior, targeted rewards triggered by visit patterns. This is where retail starts to become intelligent. And we're excited to kind of talk about this because it is something that, we've spent a lot of time in Pantheon making sure we're investing in creating the right tools for our operators to use. When your system recognizes a high frequency retail customer or a customer who hasn't visited, for example, in like 30 days, you can adjust the experience instantly. So what that means is instead of a static screen for everybody, you can create personalized, repeatable experiences at scale. So on the retail side specifically, kiosk promotional flows allow for things like dynamic upsell paths or reward messaging tied to behavior. We talked about, right, pay as you go, that's a separate mechanism, but that also exists within Pantheon. Targeted promotional flows by segment that you can define triggers against. So paired with LPR recognition, this really becomes a powerful engine to increase your loyalty, reduce your churn risk, incentivize behavior, and expand marketing reach through automation that you get to create. So retail doesn't have to be anonymous traffic. It can be known, recognized, and even guided. Moving over to end-to-end personalized customer journey, this is where everything connects, right? Retail, like we know, is not just a standalone moment. It is a modern retail journey that can look like this: recognition at entry, like we talked about, right? Targeted segmentation, personalized on-site flow, automated follow-up messaging, and then omni-channel loyalty engagement, which is another thing that we're very focused on this year. When all of those pieces are connected, like point of sale, kiosk, mobile app, pay as you go, messaging, and segmentation, you move from transactional revenue into tools and functionality that allow you to create true relationship-based revenue. So personalization isn't really about complexity, it's about relevance. Because when your end consumer feels recognized and known, even if they're not a direct member with you, they get to upgrade more often, for example, right? They make that decision because of that trust, or they return more consistently. And there's a likelihood that you're going to watch, you're going to see it with data, that they're going to convert to membership at higher rates. And when they do convert, they stay longer. That's true. When we talk about lifetime value expansion, really improving that over time, that's how you do that.
Awesome. Speaking about the customer journey, last time we got together to talk data in this series, we discussed causes and prevention of churn, which is the end of the car wash journey. Today, we flipped the script and we discussed retail traffic, which is the very start of that car wash customer journey. So what's next on our agenda?
Next, let's dive into step 3 of the customer journey, where we're going to be working with customers throughout their tenure, right? Like the plan life cycle, the once they know about you, did they come to visit? Did they come again? Did they convert, right? How long did they last? Really, it's about digging into member tenure, lifetime value, who is that member or consumer to you, and how do you improve that relationship over time, as well as redemption rates. So excited to get into that next time.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. We might pull in some ideas about member engagement and how businesses can show member appreciation. So looking forward to it.
Cool. Now to close us out, guys, if you take one thing from today, It's that retail is not leftover revenue, right? It's behavioral revenue. And behavioral revenue, like we talked about, can be influenced through things like timing, segmentation, smarter offers, through tools even like pay as you go. The operators who win in 2026 and beyond are not just going to be driving traffic, they'll understand it. And with that understanding, they'll be able to shape it.
Absolutely. And the data is already in your system. Your weather patterns, your traffic patterns, your day of week trends, your price bands, your visit frequencies, it's all there. The opportunity is not theoretical here, it's measurable.
Awesome. Thanks for listening.